looking at 10-year enrollment trends to get to the kind of conclusions that we're looking at. That's where we're looking at those kinds of results. And again, maybe that doesn't make sense, but presently Fort Collins High School has about 1,700 students or more. About 1,800. Fossil has about the same. And the long-term trend will actually be for Rocky to decline in enrollment pretty significantly, as well as Poudre in relationship to the other two schools. Well, when you start looking at our enrollment trend and what I mentioned earlier, where our smallest class moves through the system, behind that come larger classes again. So that's part of the rationale for the 400-student high school. Yes?
When you say a 400-student high school, they've used the word new, special, and other things like that. What exactly would the high school be? I mean, what kind of students would be in that high school?
We don't have a program design at this point for the high school, which makes it difficult to answer your question. I've seen speculation that we are considering this for an at-risk program. That has not been anything we've discussed. What we have discussed is what we would call a specialty high school. What we see taking place across the nation is the value of having specialized programs in high schools that would require some of the extracurricular activities that other settings have. So in terms of programming that school, none of that consideration has been put forward. You might be familiar with High Tech High as a popular school, and we have said, you know, that's not the model, but it may be something like that because it wouldn't require the facility itself to be remodeled significantly to house high school students. It's more about classroom space and the kind of spaces that we already have presently in these buildings. Yes, go ahead. I just want to get some more voices.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what this meeting's for. So if you look at the geographical location of all the other high schools that are in the Poudre School District, they all lie on major sectional roads such as Timberline or Ziegler or Shields, etc. Lopez is probably among the elementary schools one of the most difficult schools to get to in a car. When I moved here, I had a heck of a time finding my house. Why would Lopez, given its remote location from any major sectional road, be on the school district's feasibility study as a potential 400-person high school?
That's a great question. You know, frankly, it's difficult for me to find all our elementary schools because they are in neighborhoods across PST. That's pretty much been the standard in the way that it's pretty much the standard around how we build schools. So that particular condition, I don't think was what the facility planning committee looked at. I think it was more around the facility itself. That's what the feasibility committee will certainly be looking at. As I said earlier, the challenges of parking, how the area itself would need to be reviewed. Those are all things that you, as a community, are raising great questions around, and that's going to be the role of the feasibility committee to look at that. Yes, sir.
From a facility utilization standpoint, you referenced that the fifth grade class right now is one of the smallest ones.
Yes.
So we have an immediate need to accommodate the numbers that we have, and then long term we're going to run into that same issue. This group that was formed to look at our facilities based on utilization, are they the same group that made the recommendation to move the sixth graders to the middle school and add 400 more people to the high school? And if so, to me it seems like we missed something there. We didn't see that long-range plan in the next 10 to 20 years. We're not going to resolve it. Can you address that?
Sure. I think the answer to your question directly is the facility planning committee didn't have anything to do with the grade reconfiguration. But I think in terms of all our scope of planning, what's taking place in the district, if you really can stand back far enough and look at it, is we were not fully utilizing our high schools, and we wouldn't have been fully utilizing our high schools. And we are more a secondary district than we are a elementary district. And it has a lot to do with choice. There are more choice options for students, and then they come back into PSD when high school years start. So that's a really far-term perspective, and so we had all the seats that we had prior to grade configuration. The seats now are taken up more at the high school, but less at the elementary school. And I guess with regards to, did the committee look at that? No, they did not. They were just really looking at capacity issues and what's in a capacity study to look at facilities. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, this school was built, it could have a capacity of 600 students. It's a newer school than, let's say, Beatty, who has less enrollment. Why not bring Beatty students into Lopez to utilize this building to its capacity, which is what it was built a 4-track school. It was built at a 4-track school. Why not then consider, or why didn't the utilization committee consider maybe possibly using Beatty, which is a very old school, and maybe using that as the high school, because it is on a main road, it's close in proximity to Rocky, it's a lot easier, closer to restaurants, seems to me more conducive to high school than Lopez, and use Lopez Elementary for what it was built as, one of the best elementary schools in the district, 4-track school, bring Beatty into Lopez. Why not?
It's a suitable question, and I think with regards to what I tried to say earlier, we did not try to bias the committee with any particular assumptions, and we let them come up with their own criteria, and I think those are pretty well published. I wouldn't repeat them as to why they chose the one over the other. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, who sits on the committee? And so it's a two-part question. Who sits on the committee? And clearly it's coming back to the point that you will listen to our concerns that you have, and you've graciously returned our emails, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you. We're not trying to work against you. We're working as a community and a family to support the job that you have at hand, and we totally understand this, okay? But the second part, the first part is, who sits on this committee, how were they chosen, and how can we address the committee as a group and tell them these concerns and these needs? Because clearly us telling you is great, but it sounds to me like they have more power over the ultimate decision and can only go by what they do. And do you see what I'm saying? So
Sure.
who's on the committee and how can we talk to them?
Okay. As we formulated the committee, our goal is, with a working committee that has a lot to get done, keep it around a range of about 15, 16 people. So that's about the size of the committee. Let me speak, before I answer your question thoroughly, though, about the composition of the facility planning committee, because it was largely made up of people in our community who are experts in the area of facility design. And that was their expertise, and that was what they were asked to do. So we will have people on this committee, the feasibility committee, that will have community representation from across the district. And then we will also be having people from transportation, people from financial services. We'll have a classified employee rep. We'll have a licensed or teacher rep on the committee. We want to have a broad stakeholder representation. And what we are going to be purposeful about, though, is not trying to have people on the committee that are from the schools that are listed. But what the committee's charge will be to come and talk with you and hear your concerns. So as I've addressed in my emails to you, I have kept your emails, and I am forwarding them to the committee so they have those statements that you've already generated, and we will continue to work with you around this. And I appreciate